I remember the exact moment everything changed. I was standing in line at the grocery store, holding a bottle of red wine and a few things for dinner. Just a quiet evening, I was planning to cook with Nathan, my fiancé. My phone buzzed. I opened the message thinking it'd be about what he wanted to eat. But no, it was just one line. "Wedding's off. My lawyer will be in touch." I stood there frozen. Didn't cry. Didn't scream. Just felt completely hollow. I typed back 3 words, "As you wish." Then I drove home, opened my laptop, and quietly removed Nathan's name from the mortgage application, the house he once called our future. I didn't say a word, but I wasn't stupid. If you were me, what would you have done? Would you walk away in silence, or let them see exactly what they just threw away? Leave a comment. I don't know what your story is, but if you've ever had to rebuild yourself after someone shattered your plans, this story is for you. Subscribe to EN True Tales. There's more to come, I guess. I should tell you a bit about us, me and Nathan. We met at a conference in Portland. I remember he made some joke about the hotel coffee being worse than airplane water, and for some reason that made me laugh harder than I should have. He was charming, smart, the kind of person who made you feel like you were the only one in the room. I was 30 at the time, working as a financial consultant, comfortable being single, honestly, but Nathan made things feel different. Easy, like maybe I didn't have to do everything on my own anymore. We dated for a year, moved in together the next fall, got engaged last spring. Our families were thrilled. My friends said we looked like the kind of couple that belonged on a wedding magazine cover. I didn't care about that. I just wanted peace. Someone to come home to talk about our day, share a glass of wine. We started house hunting that summer. Nathan had his eye on this brand new development outside Seattle, modern clean lines, open kitchen. He said it felt like us. We weren't married yet, so I was cautious. I put up most of the down payment from my bonus that year, but we applied for the mortgage together. Nathan was in charge of the decor planning. He already picked out the color for the guest room, told his parents they'd have their own space when they visited. We even named the dog we didn't have yet. It felt real. It felt permanent. Looking back, there were signs he started working late more often, but always had a reason. There were text messages he quickly swiped away, plans canceled at the last minute. But I told myself not to overthink it. I didn't want to be that woman, the one always doubting, always checking. So I trusted him. I bet everything on that trust. And then he ended it with a single text, not even the courtesy of a conversation, just an announcement, like I was a meeting he'd decided to cancel. Like I didn't even deserve a goodbye. But what Nathan didn't know was that in the silence he left behind, I found something I hadn't felt in a long time: clarity. He thought he ended everything. But really, he just gave me permission to start over. And I don't think he was ready for what that would look like. Because when you try to throw someone away, like they're nothing, you better hope they don't remember just how much power they still hold. And I remembered just in time. I didn't plan revenge. I didn't scream. I just acted quietly, decisively. And that's when things really started to unravel. Not for me, but for him. You want to know what happened next? Good. Because this is where the real story begins. The first real sign that something had shifted was how quickly his lawyer reached out. Less than 48 hours after Nathan's text, I got a formal email, straight from some firm I'd never heard of. Subject line: urgent financial matter, real estate contract. It sounded more like a corporate dispute than the fallout of a broken engagement. Apparently, they urgently requested clarification regarding the mortgage withdrawal I had made. They were concerned about potential breach of financial understanding. I actually laughed. Suddenly, Nathan cared about the paperwork, about the house, not about me, not about what he did, just the house. I didn't respond. I sat on the couch that night, still in the same pajamas I'd been wearing for 2 days, eating microwaved mac and cheese and watching my inbox fill with more emails from Bradley Knox Escalation, asking why I had pulled out, why I didn't consult Nathan. What could be done to rectify the situation? Rectify. He dumped me by text, but sure, let's talk about rectifying things. Still, I stayed quiet, and in that silence, something interesting happened. The desperation started to show. They weren't expecting this. Nathan must have thought I'd be devastated, begging for closure, maybe even trying to win him back. But instead, I did nothing, and it drove them crazy. A few days later, I got a call from Megan, my best friend. She sounded uncomfortable. I just got off the phone with Nathan, she said. I froze. What he called me out of nowhere, Claire. Said you were being vindictive, that you were punishing him by sabotaging the house. I almost laughed again, but I didn't. I was too tired, too numb, I said. Did he happen to mention the part where he ended our engagement via text message? Megan sighed. No, of course he didn't. That was Nathan's way. He'd always been good at controlling the narrative, making himself sound like the victim. Like things just got complicated, but I knew better, and apparently, so did someone else. That same evening, I got a message request on Instagram from Ethan Doyle. Nathan's younger cousin. We weren't close, but I'd seen him at holidays. The kind of guy who always seemed to be watching more than talking. The message was simple. Hey Claire, I heard what happened. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. You didn't deserve that. Also, I probably shouldn't say this, but maybe ask him about Alexis. My heart slowed. Alexis. That name punched me in the gut. I knew her. She worked with Nathan. I'd met her once briefly at a company party. Pretty confident, smiled too much at him. I remembered her. And suddenly, a lot of things made sense. The late nights, the vague explanations, the mysterious phone calls. I opened Nathan's Instagram. Most of his stuff was private now, but I checked tagged photos. Scrolled back a few weeks. There it was. A group photo at someone's birthday dinner, Nathan sitting beside Alexis, her arm looped casually through his. She was leaning in close, and he wasn't exactly leaning away. The caption read, "Work fam," but it didn't look like family. That same weekend, he told me he had food poisoning and stayed home all day. I had brought him ginger tea and tucked him in. He said, "You're the best," and kissed my hand. He kissed my hand and then went out to dinner with her. That was the moment something in me shifted. I stopped feeling heartbroken, stopped feeling stupid, and started feeling something else. Sharp, focused, clear. I wasn't going to cry anymore. I wasn't going to wait for closure. I wasn't going to ask why. I already knew the answer. So instead, I started pulling up every document we had signed together. Mortgage forms, bank accounts, shared emails. I took screenshots, backed up conversations, printed out receipts. Not to get revenge, but to make sure I wasn't left holding the mess he made. I checked the mortgage site again. The status still read, "Application withdrawn by primary applicant," which meant me. I called the lender and asked for written confirmation. They sent it within the hour. And then I locked the file in a folder on my desktop called Just In Case. And believe me, I had a feeling I was going to need it, because something told me Nathan wasn't done. He thought he could end our story with a single text, but I was just getting started and he had no idea what silence sounds like when a woman finally stops begging and starts watching. 2 days later, there was a knock at my apartment door. I wasn't expecting anyone. I peeked through the peephole and nearly stepped back in shock. It was Nathan's dad, Mr. Doyle. The last time I saw him, he was giving a toast at our engagement dinner, saying how proud he was to welcome a strong, smart woman like Claire into the family. Now he looked tired, wrinkled in a way I hadn't noticed before, embarrassed. Almost like he didn't want to be standing there. He didn't even say hi, just blurted out what happened with the house. I opened the door halfway and crossed my arms. I'm not buying a house with someone who ends an engagement by text and sends a lawyer to speak for him. Are you here as his representative? He looked down. No, I'm here because he won't tell us anything. He sounded lost. 1 minute. He says the wedding's off. Then he's panicking about furniture money, the credit check talking in circles, like he's drowning. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost, I nodded slowly. He made a choice, and I'm letting him live with it, mister. Doyle sighed. I told him not to do this. Then he turned and left, mumbling something like, he always does this when things get real. And that's when I knew this wasn't just about me. Nathan had a pattern. A way of bailing the second. Something became permanent, marriage, a home, a real future. He wanted the image of it, the comfort, but not the weight. Still, none of that explained why he'd been so desperate to push the house deal through. Unless he had something riding on it, something I didn't know yet. I went back inside, poured myself a glass of wine, and sat in the dark, just thinking. Then I remembered Ethan's message, ask about Alexis. I had already seen the photo, but something about that nudge felt heavier now. Was she the real reason he called it off? Was it even his idea, or had she pushed him to do it? Or worse, had this been planned for weeks? A clean break, a new relationship, a house that he assumed he could keep without me. It made sense. Because when someone sends you a breakup message cold enough to be a corporate memo, you start to realize they weren't just done. They had already moved on. I sat there that night alone in my living room, and something inside me hardened. Not bitterness, not revenge, just resolve. I wasn't going to explain myself. I wasn't going to justify. I wasn't going to ask him to consider how he made me feel. I was going to protect myself, my money, my name, my future. And if he wanted to play games he was about to learn, I knew how to win them. I opened my laptop and typed one message to my old roommate Jade, now a practicing attorney in Boston. The message said, "Hey, you once said if I ever needed a shark in my corner, you'd be there. Well, I'm calling it in." That was the moment everything changed. I wasn't the broken-hearted ex-fiancé anymore. I was done playing nice. And Nathan, he had no idea how much he'd just lost. Jade called me within 10 minutes. She didn't ask for the whole story. She just said, "Start from the top." So I did the text, the silence, the lawyer, the mortgage, the house. And Alexis Jade was quiet for a second, then said, "Well, first things first, he thinks you're going to stay quiet." So we don't stay quiet. We build a file. That night, we went through every document. Mortgage applications, joint statements, screenshots of conversations, and email threads. Every receipt, every wire transfer, the wedding fund, that was a big one. We'd opened a joint savings account for deposits and vendors, but only one of us had actually put money in it. Me $12,000 for my annual bonus. Nathan hadn't added a single penny. He said he'd cover the honeymoon later. I didn't push it. I should have. Because that same week, the bank flagged a suspicious attempt to transfer the full amount into a checking account under his name. They froze the transaction, thank God. And I received an email from Bradley Knox, his lawyer, "Dear Ms. Hastings, my client believes he is entitled to partial recovery of joint wedding funds due to contributions made in good faith towards shared commitments, except he hadn't contributed anything and I had the paperwork to prove it." I forwarded everything to Jade. She replied 2 minutes later. "We've got him, now we go on the offensive." Jade referred me to a colleague in Seattle, Miranda. Sure, tough, precise. No time for nonsense. Miranda didn't ask how I was feeling. She asked what I wanted, and I told her the truth. I didn't want revenge, I wanted freedom. I wanted a clean slate. No loose ends, no legal tricks, no hidden debt. She said, "Then we send a letter, and we make it clear you're not someone he can roll over." The letter went out the next morning to Bradley Knox, Esq. Re Claire Hastings, Veith High, Nathan Doyle. It stated in legal terms that I denied any shared ownership of the mortgage until legally established, that all funds in the wedding account originated from me, that no further withdrawals would be authorized until contributions were proven, that Nathan's attempt to transfer funds without consent would be considered attempted theft, and that any future emotional or reputational damage caused by false claims would be met with a defamation countersuit. Oh, and one more thing, Miranda added a clause demanding a full financial disclosure of Nathan's current assets, including any premarital expenditures made with my money. It was brutal, but clean and fair. I felt like I could breathe for the first time in weeks until the next voicemail came. This time, it wasn't from a lawyer, it was from Nathan. His voice sounded off wobbly, like he wanted to cry, but wasn't sure if he should. "Claire, I didn't mean for it to happen like this." I panicked. "Okay, things got complicated. I didn't know how to talk to you about it. Please don't think I was trying to hurt you." I played the message twice. Then I deleted it. Because I knew what that was. It wasn't regret. It was fear. He saw the letter. He saw I wasn't playing anymore, and he didn't know how to handle it. Nathan wasn't used to me being quiet and smart and prepared. He was used to control, and now he had none. A day later, I got a call from Megan again. Her voice was shaky. "You should know something. Nathan's telling people you're pregnant." I blinked what he told Alexis, and he told his sister. "He's saying you're trying to trap him, and that's why he ended it." I felt like the air had been knocked out of me. We hadn't even been intimate for almost 2 months. He'd been distant, cold, and weirdly formal. He even said he wanted to save the spark for the honeymoon. I had believed him. Now I knew better. He was building a story. one where he was the victim, where I was the manipulative one. And Alexis. She was just the girl who helped him see the truth. I didn't cry, I didn't yell, I just picked up the phone and called Miranda. "We're going to need a paternity clause," I said. "And a warning about character defamation. Already drafting it," she replied. That's the thing about lawyers like Miranda. They don't flinch, they don't hesitate. They see it for what it is, not drama, not heartbreak, just leverage and risk management. That afternoon we sent a second letter. This one said, "Until verified by legal paternity testing, I denied all claims of pregnancy or parental responsibility. Any attempts to access joint funds or spread false allegations would result in immediate legal action." Simple, firm, unapologetic. 2 hours later, my phone rang again. Nathan, 3 times in a row, I didn't pick up, but Miranda got a call that night from Bradley. Apparently, Nathan felt ambushed, that we should have handled this privately. Miranda simply said, "He made it legal. We're just responding." It was quiet after that. For a few days, no calls, no emails, no new claims, but I could feel it. This wasn't over. Not even close, because the kind of man who sends a breakup text and then tries to steal your money doesn't disappear quietly. He tries one last thing, one desperate move. And believe me, I was ready for it. Because by now, I had something Nathan never expected: power, and I was finally ready to use it. It was Sunday morning when the next wave hit. I woke up to 32 missed notifications, texts, emails, bank alerts. At first, I thought something was wrong with my card. Then I saw the subject lines: "Suspicious activity, account transfer attempt blocked," and one that made my blood run cold. "Urgent flag, unauthorized movement, joint wedding fund." I called the bank immediately. They said someone had tried to move the entire balance, $12,000, into a private checking account. Under Nathan's name, he had tried again. Behind my back, after everything. But this time, I was ready. The transfer was frozen. The bank flagged it. And while I was still on the phone, I got another email. Subject: urgent refund ownership dispute from Bradley Knox. Again. The email claimed Nathan had reasonable belief that a portion of the wedding fund belonged to him, that his client was emotionally distressed by the restrictions I placed on the account, and that unless reasonable access was granted, they would be forced to escalate legally. I didn't even blink. Instead, I forwarded it all to Miranda. She called me 5 minutes later. "Do not respond." She said, "Let me." That same day, she filed a formal motion with the court, requesting a restraining order against further financial interference and submitting evidence of attempted theft. She also added a counterclaim that any funds removed would be considered unlawful seizure and subject to full restitution plus penalties. That was Sunday. Monday, Nathan left me a voicemail. His voice was shaky, trying to sound sad, trying to sound like the man I used to know. "Claire, I didn't want this to turn into a war. I just didn't know what to do. Okay, you were shutting me out. You made me feel like I didn't matter. I deleted it. No reply, no acknowledgement. Because this wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a strategy, a manipulation, and I wasn't falling for it anymore." Then Tuesday, Megan called me again. This time she didn't sound confused. She sounded scared. "You need to know something," she said, "and I really hate being the one to tell you." I braced myself. Alexis has been staying at Nathan's since the breakup. Like every night, but now he's telling people that you're pregnant and that you're refusing to talk to him about it. I froze. My mouth went dry. "But we haven't even." "I know," Megan said quickly. "I remember. You told me he's saying you're using the pregnancy to try to trap him into staying. And people are starting to believe him." I sat down on the floor. Not the couch, not a chair. The floor. It felt like the only place solid enough to hold everything I was feeling. Nathan wasn't just trying to rewrite our breakup. He was trying to rewrite me. He was building a version of Claire that was manipulative, unstable, a woman who would fake a pregnancy just to hold on to a man. And the worst part, people were listening, because when men spin stories like that, there's always someone ready to nod along. But I wasn't going to stay quiet. Not anymore. I called Miranda. Told her everything. She filed an official declaration denying all pregnancy claims. requested Nathan cease all public statements regarding my reproductive status or face immediate defamation charges. She even included medical privacy violations, just to make it airtight. Still, it didn't stop him. That Friday, I got a call from the mortgage lender, not an automated update. A personal call from a senior rep. They'd received a new document signed electronically claiming I had forfeited my share in the property application voluntarily and without condition. Only, I hadn't signed anything I asked them to send the document. And when I opened the file, there was my name, my signature, but it wasn't mine. He forged it. Nathan had submitted falsified documents to try and salvage the house deal without me. The signature was close, but not close enough. The bank flagged it. And now, they were reporting it. They informed me the document had already been forwarded to their fraud investigation team, and possibly to local authorities. I didn't even cry, didn't scream. I just sat there and stared at the screen. This man had ended our engagement with a text, then tried to steal our wedding fund, then tried to fake a pregnancy story. And now, he was committing actual fraud. This wasn't about heartbreak, this was about protection. And I was done giving him the benefit of the doubt. That night, Miranda scheduled a meeting with the district attorney's office. The case was now bigger than just us. And I was finally okay with that. Because if Nathan thought he could wreck my life quietly without consequence, he was wrong. I wasn't his secret. I wasn't his backup plan, and I wasn't going to be his victim. It's been just over a year now. 12 months since the text, since the voicemail, since the lies. Sometimes I still replay it all in my head. Not out of pain, but to remind myself how far I've come. The case never went to court. Nathan backed down once the fraud investigation became real. Once Miranda sent over the bank's audit logs and matching handwriting analysis. His lawyer went quiet, completely silent. We settled the financial matter out of court. He signed a formal withdrawal from the mortgage application. Returned the remaining balance of the wedding account after facing the threat of felony charges. He didn't apologize, not once. But honestly, I didn't need him to. Because by then I didn't care. I was already gone. Mentally, emotionally, legally, I bought the house. On my own, the mortgage is in my name, the deed too. I chose the paint color for the guest room, hung up my own art, adopted a dog, named her Olive. She's smarter than Nathan ever was. I don't follow him on social media, but Megan told me Alexis left him a few months after everything went down. Something about emotional instability and financial red flags. Funny how that works. Nathan's name doesn't come up anymore. Not in conversation. Not in my memories. Not in my life. His father, though, Mr. Doyle called once, months after it all quieted down. Said he was sorry. Said he wished he'd known that he should have seen the pattern sooner. I told him I appreciated the call. But I also told him it wasn't his to fix. Not anymore, because I fixed it. I fixed my life. My finances, my future, all without the person I once thought I couldn't live without. And now looking back, I don't feel bitter. I feel clean, like someone took the chaos and squeezed it through a filter. And what came out the other side was just me, stronger, clearer, no longer waiting to be chosen, no longer afraid to start over. So if you're listening to this and you've been blindsided by someone who left without warning, who tried to rewrite the story in their favor, who thought you'd stay broken, I want you to remember something. You don't need permission to rebuild. You don't need closure to walk away. And you don't owe anyone the soft version of your story just to make them more comfortable. You get to heal. Loudly, quietly, messily, brilliantly. You get to survive. Because the truth is, some people will leave you like you're nothing. But that doesn't mean they took anything from you. Not really. They just reminded you what you were never supposed to give away in the first place. Your voice, your strength, your future. I have all three now, and I'm not giving them up again. Thank you for listening to my story. What would you have done in my shoes? Would you have stayed silent or stood your ground? Let me know in the comments. And if you've ever come back stronger after someone tried to break you, you're not alone. You're exactly where you need to be. Subscribe to EN True Tales for more stories that don't just end, they rise.